Okay, now let's take a look at date and time picker. In terms of the visual representation, both these controls look like picker. So when we tap them, in iOS, we get a panel popping up from the bottom of the page where we can select the date or the time. And of course, they look different in Android and Windows. So let's see how we can add a date and time picker in our applications. So in our stack layout, I'm going to add a date picker. Now we can initialize this using the date property. I can set this to, let's say, 5 Jan 2016. Let's look at the result. So here's our date picker. And as you see, the default format is month/day/year. We can change the format by using format attribute. And we can set this to a standard C# date format. So here I'm going to change the format to D, 3 capital M, YYYY. And here's the result. Similar to picker, we can also constrain the range. So I can apply minimum date here. Let's say 1st of January 2016. And maximum date to 30th of January 2016. So pretty simple. Now, if you want to do something when the user selects the date, you can handle the date selected event. And in this handler, you can use e.newDate or oldDate. Now, what if you want to initialize this date to today's date? So something like this. Datetime.today. We need a special syntax for that. Because when XAML parser is going to parse this XAML file, it will pass this string to datetime.parse. And of course, if we pass this value to this parse method, we're going to get an exception. So for this, we need to use a XAML markup extension. Remember XAML markup extensions? They always are between curly braces. Now, this markup extension we're going to use is called x:static. So it's prefixed with X, which means it belongs to standard XAML defined by Microsoft. And we use this markup extension to access static members of a class. In this case, today property of datetime. But if I put datetime.today here, our application is going to crash. Because XAML parser doesn't know where this datetime is defined. So far, all the elements we have used in our XAML are either in Xamarin Forms namespace or in Microsoft XAML namespace. So in order to use datetime, we need to import the system namespace. So I'm going to add an XML namespace declaration. XML namespace. By convention, we use sys for the system namespace. Now CLR-namespace system. Now, because this is in a different assembly, we need to specify that assembly here. So semicolon, assembly, and make sure there is no space here. So if you put a space here, you're going to get a runtime exception. So assembly is ms core lib. How did I know the name of this assembly? It's very easy. Just go to Google. Let's search for C# datetime. Now the first link, datetime structure. You can see this type is defined in system namespace, which is in ms core lib assembly. So that's how you find the namespace or assembly of various types in .NET Framework. All right, so we imported our system namespace. Now we need to prefix this datetime with sys:. Let's run the application again. Our date picker is initialized to 30th of January 2016. But today is 27th of July 2016. So what's going on here? Because we have constrained the range of this date picker, today's date cannot fit in. So I'm going to remove these two attributes for now. Run the application again. And you can see our date picker is properly initialized to today's date. A time picker is very similar to date picker, except that here we use time picker and set the time attribute. Let's say 13 hours. Run the application again. And here's our time picker, initialized to 1 p.m. Next, I'm going to talk about table view.